weekly commentaries on the Bible and the Bhagavad Gita, written by Swami Kriyananda. Today, week 45. Faith is a call to prayer. Prayer is a call to faith. Truth is one and eternal. Realize oneness with it in your deathless self within. The following commentary is based on the teachings of Paramahansa Yogananda. In the Gospel of St. Matthew, chapter 7, and again chapter 21, we read, "Ask, and it shall be given you. Seek, and ye shall find. Knock, and it shall be opened unto you. Verily I say unto you, if you have faith and doubt not, if ye shall say unto this mountain, be thou removed and be thou cast into the sea, it shall be done. And all things, whatsoever ye shall ask in prayer, believing, ye shall receive." Paramahansa Yogananda showed by his own example that prayer is a power, provided we believe deeply in that power. When our thoughts and feelings are strongly focused and then united in growing awareness to the divine presence within, they can bring even seemingly unrealistic wishes to fulfillment. When Paramahansa Yogananda was in charge of his school in Ranchi, India, he took the boys on occasional outings to the surrounding countryside. There was a waterfall not far away, he told Swami Kriyananda, where I took them sometimes. It was dangerous to cross there, but I would cry out to the boys, "Do you believe in God?" "Yes," they would shout back enthusiastically. And so we always crossed in safety. Years later, after I'd gone to America, one of the teachers tried to do the same thing, but he lacked spiritual power. One of the boys slipped on a rock and was drowned. Thus the master explained, belief alone is not enough. It must be united to one pointed awareness which leads to self-realization. The Bhagavad Gita, in the 6th chapter, underscores the necessity for such one-pointed concentration. Whenever the mind, fickle and restless, wanders off from its concentration, let the meditating yogi withdraw it resolutely, spurning every distraction, no matter how alluring, and bring it back again and again under the control of the self. Thus, through Holy Scripture, God has spoken to mankind. Om, Om, Om.
Thank you, Shane. Good morning, everyone. For those that don't know me, my name is Rose, and I'm joined by Nayaswami Lorna, Nayaswami Hanuman, and Surendra, and it's our joy to be here with you this morning. I really enjoy Sunday mornings coming together and having a time to worship and to recenter and to reconnect and just enjoy the presence of being with other truth seekers. Well, I get to share it this morning, and I'm going to start with a reading from Whispers from Eternity. These are poem and prayer demands by Paramahansa Yogananda. And this is number 67. The caravan of my prayers is moving toward thee. The caravan of my prayers is moving toward thee. In the eyes of kindness I behold glimmers of thy mercy. Even the bare trees of dark lives flicker with the myriad glowworms of thy shining life. The caravan of my prayers has been working its way slowly through dry wastes of arid doubts and furious sandstorms of despondency. Yet, at last, far-off glimpses of thy oasis of silent assurance have roused me in my drooping efforts. Eagerly I await the moment when I can dip into thy revivifying water my parched, thirsty lips of faith, and there drink deeply from thy well of bliss. Is this sounding okay to you all? Okay, there's a little bit of a feedback, so I'm not quite disoriented, but have to re-shift myself. This month of November marks the 18th anniversary of myself and my family arriving to Portland 18 years ago. The day after Thanksgiving, we arrived. We are already part of the worldwide spiritual work of Ananda. We were on the East Coast of this country. And we came here specifically, well, we wanted to be in community, but for the Living Wisdom School that was here for 25 years in this building and also the buildings behind us. And my kids were 4, 7, and 10 at the time. And my 7-year-old boy was in Bharati's class, for those that know Bharati. And we were only about 3 weeks into school, and this memory was so dear. I remember in the living room, he wanted to share with me what he's learning at school. And he had a tennis ball, and he's throwing it up in the air. And he said, Mom, watch. You know, this tennis ball is going up, and I'm catching it. But if I get distracted and think about something else, it falls, it drops. But if I throw it up, and I'm concentrate, and I believe I can catch it, look, I catch it. It's this very simple illustration of spiritual principles at work and using your inner power to affect your outer environment. And our life in 2025 is not as simple. We have a whole lot of distractions. I have interactions with people every day. I interact with a lot of people at work, have a large family, friends, and of course, Gurubhais. And what I'm noticing these days is this common feeling of concerns and stress, personally, collectively, of wanting to do something, of feeling powerless. And as I reflected in this reading, as I read it several times, and the words are actually in there, about spiritual power. I feel like this reading for me, what kept reaching out to me is spiritual power. And not spiritual power in terms of siddhis, which are the supernatural capabilities that yogis can acquire, like manifesting Amrita or bilocating or reading someone's minds. But these are the power that we have access to of prayer, of faith, of one point in concentration, and of attunement. I'm going to read this again because I appreciate these words that Jesus said, ask and it shall be given to you, seek and you shall find, knock and it shall be opened unto you. Verily I say unto you, if you have faith and doubt not, if ye shall say unto this mountain, be thou removed, and thou cast into the sea, it shall be done. And all things whatsoever ye shall ask in prayer, believing ye shall receive. And I believe in these words of Jesus. I have faith in the power of prayer, and probably many of us have been on the receiving end and felt the impact of prayer, or on the giving end and also felt the impact of prayer. But why can't I move mountains? Why can't I impact wars across the world? Why can't I help to heal terminal diseases? I feel like this is kind of a question of the ages. And Paramahansa Yogananda said, believing is not enough. We have to have one-pointed concentration. Our attention in prayer and focus needs to be one-pointed on the divine. And that made me think of that famous story in the Mahabharata. And probably most of you, there are many, many, many stories in the Mahabharata. The Mahabharata is an Indian epic that is a scripture, actually. The end of the Mahabharata is the Bhagavad Gita. And there's many, many stories in there. And for those that aren't familiar, a very, very large generalization. It's about 2 sets of cousins that are princes and the succession of a kingdom. And the teacher of these princes, these cousins and princes, is Drona. And Drona was holding an archery lesson. And in the archery lesson, he put a wooden bird up in a tree. And he went through all the cousins, starting with the oldest cousin, Yudhisthira, and asked them as they were pulling back their bow, what did they see in the tree? And so Yudhisthira, pulling back his bow, he said, Guru Dev, I see you, I see the tree, I see the people around me, I see the bird. And he lets go of his bow and misses the bird. And the story goes, Drona asks each of the cousins, as they're lining up and aiming their arrow, what they see. And they all say some version of what Yudhisthira said. But then he comes to Arjuna. And the famous lines is, when Drona asked Arjuna what he sees, he says, I see only the eyes of the bird. I see only the eyes of the bird. And that's what Yogananda is asking us to access the power of prayer, is to have rapt attention and devotion and faith on the eyes on the bird, on what we're praying for, on where our attention and our consciousness is. Yogananda says that the highest prayer is, Lord, give me thyself so I may give thee to all. And that's what we hear in these teachings and we read in these readings, is to go first into God contact. And when we go into that God contact, then we automatically want to share ourselves with others. We automatically want to express our adoration and our gratitude and share those blessings with others. Recently, I went on a spiritual vacation. I went down to Ananda Village for about 10 days. Well, I was at the village for 10 days, the meditation retreat and Ananda Village. And my purpose was to see friends, but also have longer, deeper meditations with other Guru Bhais. And after I left the meditation retreat, I went down to Encinitas to see my daughter. She's living there. And for those that don't know, Encinitas, Yogananda has a hermitage and gardens there. And he lived there from about 1937 to his moksha. And anyway, spent a lot of time there. So as soon as my daughter and I drove up, I flew into San Diego, and we drove up into the town of Encinitas. Probably many of you have been there. But as soon as I got to the town, I felt this wave of Yogananda's presence. And I felt that presence for the entire time, day and night, the 2.5 days I was there. Whether I was at my daughter's, whether I was meditating at the coffee shop, at the gardens, at Swami's beach, anywhere I was, I could feel Yogananda's, the sweetness of Yogananda's presence. And it was absolutely thrilling. And about halfway through my 2.5 days, I was only there 2.5 days, I was thinking to myself, I gotta stay. I can't leave. I can't, and those that know me, this is a common pattern. I'm sure I can get a hospice job here and I'll be with my daughter. She could use my help, and I could feel the sweetness of my Guru's presence. And then it was just loud and clear. Yogananda's presence is everywhere. He's omnipresent. He's self-realized. He is one with the infinite. If I can feel his presence in Encinitas, then I can certainly feel it in Portland. And since I've been back, I have, but I have to be thinking of Master. I have to be tuning into his presence and his consciousness and the power of his teachings, the kindness of his devotees, and the peace that I see when I look at his photo. I need to include him in my internal dialogue, in my questions, and be listening. And what this spiritual vacation experience showed me is that what I desire is with me all along, but I just have to improve my knowing. The other thing I did on my trip was I listened to some of the audiobook of Ashanai Swami's book, The Light Bearer, which is stories of her many, many, many years with Swami Kriyananda. And for those that don't know, this book is 700 pages, and the audio is almost 30. And so needless to say, it's taken me many years to get through this book. So I got through a couple of hours on my flights there. And what I got out of it this time of listening to it was this deepened appreciation of Swami Kriyananda and how he embodies Yogananda's teachings. And his discipleship is, I feel like, one of the greatest gifts in my life and and Ananda, but also the stories of how he guided and built the work of Ananda just show over and over again, illustrate these principles of faith and attunement. He, you just hear one after the other through all these. There's many chapters there, go from 1969 to 2013, and each chapter is a year that she spent with Swami Kriyananda. And over, you see how Swamiji goes inward. He asks for guidance, and then while attuning to his guru's consciousness, he acts as a channel for these teachings of self-realization. And even just right off the bat, and this is the chapter of 1970-71, this just like blew my mind. Asha writes, one Sunday afternoon, Swamiji began to talk about Ananda's future. First, we'll develop communities on the west coast of the United States, and then one on the east coast. From there, we'll go to Europe, from Europe to Australia, and then to India. India will be more receptive if Ananda is an international work rather than purely American. This is 1970. So Asha writes, I couldn't imagine how we would get from a handful of people living an isolated life in the woods to communities around the world. She writes, I respected Swamiji, but I also respected my own intelligence. I would not be a blind follower. And Swamiji writes, I always accepted Master's authority unhesitatingly, but never unquestionably. Swami Kriyananda had a great work to do. Paramahansa Yogananda told him his life would be one of intense activity and meditation, writing, lecturing, editing, and this was his unique path to liberation for his incarnation. And we all have our own unique path in this incarnation that's going to lead us to freedom. Staying open, relaxing into faith and daily communion with God and gurus is our path to inner power and alignment with the divine. I remember as I was kind of putting this sharing together, I remembered a story about Nayaswami Jaya, and those who have read The Touch of Light this week, it's in that, which was very cute. I read it this morning. Nayaswami Jaya is a founding member of Ananda, and there's a story that's told of him speaking to a very large group in India. And after his talk, there was a question and answer period, and somebody asked the question, what spiritual powers have you achieved after meditating all these years? And Nayaswami Jaya sat and thought for a minute, and he said, the power to be happy. And ever since I heard this story, I just love it. The power to be happy, the power to remain even-minded and cheerful in all circumstances, to stand unshaken amidst the crashing worlds. You can achieve these powers through these teachings, through living these teachings and practicing these teachings, and they don't have to be perfect. It's just a matter of practicing. We just keep practicing. We just keep showing up day after day after day, moment after moment after moment. So we stand in our center, we tap into those qualities of God within us: joy, calmness, peace, wisdom, power, light. And then when we're in that moment of God contact, like I said before, we're naturally going to want to pray for others, show our appreciation, our gratitude to the infinite. Yogananda, I've been trying in my prayers to kind of remember the key principles that Yogananda shares with us about prayer. And the first one is, pray as like you're a child of God. You are one with the infinite. Do not pray like you're a beggar. Yogananda calls it loving demand. Our prayers are loving demands from our spiritual parents. Pray with heartfelt sincerity, not with what you think you should say, not praying for, I was thinking the other day in prayer, if we stand in our center, if we stay from that inner core of who we are and pray, it's a different kind of prayer than if we're thinking about our concern or our struggle or our stress, because then our focus is here. But if we focus right in our heart, then we're naturally going to feel more of the divine flowing through us. Yogananda says that faith and love are the two most important elements of prayer, faith and love. And pray that God's will be done in your life. Divine Mother knows what you need, and often from my experience, she provides more than we could ever fathom for ourselves. These are Master's words. The only way to know God through prayer is by persistency, regularity, and depth of loving effort. God can never hide from the person who exercises devotion, love, and law of meditation and the soul call. God never fails to listen to all soul calls, but he does not always respond in the way that we expect him. And this, for me, this is something I have to remind myself over and over again, that God does not always respond in the way that we expect him. It's an opportunity for non-attachment. It's an opportunity for deeper and deeper layers of trust. We're all part of this cosmic motion picture, and saints and sages and these masters tell us that it's not really even real. We need to pray without attachment, pray with sincerity, and pray as if we're a part of all that is. And we all have the power to be sons and daughters of the divine. We just have to improve our knowing. So joy to you all, and many blessings on the rest of our service. We have some beautiful music coming on next.
Speak not, nor ask when to expect from you an answer. You know my heart. I'll call to thee again. Keep calling him. center of my heart, I have a mystic throne for thee. The candles of my joys are dimly burning now in hope, awaiting thy coming. Though it be eternity, keep calling him, keep calling him. Whether he replies or not, keep calling him. Even when there's no reply, never let your longing die, and call to him.